Well, hello. Several weeks ago, a fellow creator put together a compilation video in which he featured several creators who got together to talk about their hopes and dreams for the next Mass Effect game. I was honored to be part of that group. Enjoy.
Welcome back, Commander. Last year, I made a video on my wish list for the next Mass Effect game. You can see it right here. Now I was going to make a updated version of that. Now, not a lot has changed since that first video that I did. So what I've done is reach out to 5 top Mass Effect creators. If I didn't have anything new to bring to the table, maybe they could give me some inspiration. So, emails sent, and it was just a waiting game. Now I'll be honest with you, my channel isn't as big as these creators, and I didn't actually expect a response. However, not 1, not 2, but 3 of them answered the call, and the smile on my face was glorious. So my first guest, absolutely smashing it on YouTube at the moment. He's got some wonderful lore videos on Elden Ring, so if you enjoy that game, make sure you check them out. But he's also done some really fantastic work on Mass Effect 2. So, Endymion, it's over to you.
Hey, thanks for having me. For those who don't know me, I'm Endymion. I run a YouTube channel that covers mostly Mass Effect, Elden Ring, and The Witcher, as well as whatever else I feel like talking about, I guess. So what do I want in Mass Effect's next game? It's pretty simple for me. My first want would be new alien races and worlds to explore. I don't want to go back to any planet we've been to already for the most part. I just want to see new things. And in terms of aliens, I want a bunch of new ones. Andromeda didn't expand nearly enough in my opinion, so it'd be really cool to have new races as well as first real looks at obscure races we've only seen of in passing, like the bird-like race Ralloy, or the return of races we've only heard small lore pieces about, like the Inusanin. So that's what I want. I want this to feel like the first Mass Effect again, in terms of here's all this crazy stuff you've never seen before. My second big thing would be that the sequel doesn't go fully open world like so many other games these days, but instead does more dense, vertically designed levels to explore instead. Basically, I want it to be less like, say, Andromeda's open world and more cyberpunky kinda design-wise. Lots to explore, but it's dense. There's not just big, empty nothing areas, and I want more linear levels since that's what the trilogy was all about in the first place. And finally, I want better human characters. I don't really think I need to explain this one. Anyway, thanks for having me, Ploppy, and take it away.
Endymion, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. I really do like your list. And you've got some really good suggestions in there too. However, I actually do like going back to some old places. So, next up is actually one of my channel members. She is an absolutely fantastic streamer, and she's got some great Mass Effect content on there too. So, over to you, MotherMantiss.
Hi, this is Diana. I'm also known as MotherMantiss, and here are a few things that I'd like to see in Mass Effect 4. Whatever the plot or threat ends up being in Mass Effect 4, I think they need to accomplish 3 things right off the bat. Number 1, they need to tie the game world Andromeda to the Mass Effect world of the Milky Way. Not a sequel, but there is no point in pretending that the Andromeda game doesn't exist, no matter what you thought of it. And I think it would be better to just tie the worlds together in a way that's plausible and helps them continue the story. Number 2, the threat has to be big enough. Mass Effect is a hero game, and you need a threat to be a hero. Number 3, if they have Shep return, and that's a big if, but if they have Shep return as a playable character or a main character in the next Mass Effect, they need to provide a reason why that hero's journey story is not finished. It has to be not a new story, but a continuance of the hero's journey. Otherwise, I think over time you diminish the character. I think there's one premise or theory that's been floating around for a while and has already been alluded to in the series that fulfills those 3 goals, and that is the dark energy theory. Dark energy, a force we barely comprehend and certainly have no real control over, is used throughout the Mass Effect world in manufacturing, technology, faster-than-light travel. Biotics have eezo nodules embedded in their bodies so that they can manipulate and create miniature Mass Effect fields. The Mass Effect reveal material showed a new Mass Effect relay, and in the new game, it can turn out that that relay connects the Milky Way to the Andromeda Galaxy. That would explain both Liara and Angara being in the same scene, and the scourge that's around the planets in Andromeda turns out to be a version of dark energy that's perhaps been manipulated by some massive malignant force. So what if, after the Reapers are destroyed, because I believe that they'll make the destroy ending canon, in a big twist, we find out that the Reapers were in fact fulfilling a far larger purpose than we had the capacity to perceive or comprehend. Do you think twice about destroying an ant colony if it's in the way of that deck you want to build? But to those ants, you are a massive and incomprehensive destructible force. So what if the proliferation of dark energy uses is actually speeding us towards some inevitable destruction or subjugation or something? We are faced with the awful knowledge that there are far bigger forces at play here, forces we didn't know about and really don't understand. We're forced to confront the idea that the Reapers, although a terrible and malignant force to us, were merely getting rid of ant colonies that were growing too big in pursuit of a greater purpose that was beyond our scope to perceive at the time. This also actually provides a reason for Shep to have survived the destroy option in the last game, because his story is not yet finished. There's more for that hero to do. But that's a premise I'd like to see, and a big twist that shows us that we are infinitely smaller in the universe than we like to think. And now we're faced with a problem that we must come together and solve if we are to survive as a species, as a group of species, as a universe. Oh, and I'd like to have the option to play as an alien race. Thanks, Ploppy, for the opportunity to talk about what I'd like to see in Mass Effect 4.
So that's absolutely wonderful. There's some completely different points of view there as well. I really do like the idea of tying the two worlds together, or the two galaxies together, should we say, because they do exist, and people don't like Andromeda, but they can't just ignore it. They should have actually stuck with it, in my opinion, given us that DLC that we deserve. But yeah, absolutely. Tying those two worlds together, bringing that into the fold, maybe somewhere along the lines of between the end of Mass Effect 3 and the beginning of Andromeda, they found a quicker way to get there. So, you've got that time span. But yeah, some absolutely fantastic points there, and I really love it. Thank you very much. Okay, and so my final guest is a Mass Effect streamer. She is absolutely fantastic at what she does. And I highly recommend you go and watch some of her live plays because they are brilliant, really engaging, really good to watch. What more to be said than take it away, N7 Kate.
My wish list for the next Mass Effect game. God, this list is long. Let's start with the story. So first, I want BioWare to actually pick a canon ending. I myself personally didn't feel that the original trilogy needed multiple endings. Your decisions very definitely had consequences and resolution. So I want them to pick a canon ending because I think that will make for a better story and a better world setting going into the next Mass Effect game. So that's the first thing I want. The second thing in terms of the story is I would like the continuation to be set after Mass Effect 3. I don't want a prequel, and I don't want it to be set thousands of years in the future. Yeah, okay, we may well have Liara, we may well have Rex or Grunt, because obviously they're quite long-lived species, but I would actually prefer it to be set in the not too distant future. So maybe 10, 20 years is okay. I would like to see the state of the world post Reapers. I would like to see some of the consequences of our decisions. So, what happens with the Krogan when we actually cure the genophage, the Quarians on Rannoch. I want to see an actual continuation of that. I'd also really like to see Leviathan explored. I think Leviathan would make for a really good antagonist in the next game, and I'd like to see that explored. Obviously, I want to see some returning companions and characters that we all love. We know potentially we're going to get Liara, so that will be really cool. I'd like to see some returning characters, especially Garrus, especially Rex and Grunt, and all of my favorites. I want to see them back for sure. I would love it if we did get to see Commander Shepard come back. Whether or not we get to play as Shepard, I'm not bothered, but the talent of Jennifer Hale and Mark Mir should not go to waste, and Mass Effect it doesn't feel the same without them. So I would love to see Commander Shepard come back. I think it'd be really cool as well if we actually get to play as multiple characters. Maybe we get to play as Liara. That would be really, really cool. So I would love that. I enjoyed that in Mass Effect 2 where we got that short segment as Joker, and I think it would be awesome to actually play as different characters. But we'll obviously have to see, you know, BioWare don't really do that, but it would be cool if they did do. It would be really, really awesome. Let's talk about the gameplay. My wishes for the gameplay. So I actually would like them to keep the combat and the gameplay from Mass Effect Andromeda. I thought that was the peak of the combat. The movement in Andromeda was fantastic, especially with the booster jet, which really allowed for sort of some verticality and some really freedom of movement. I wasn't a big fan of the profile system though, I will admit, so I would prefer for them to go back to the original kind of set classes with the Vanguard, Sentinel, Soldier. I'd like to see them introduce more unique powers for the Soldier, because I always feel that the Soldier gets a little bit overlooked compared to some of the powers that the other classes have. I definitely want to see power combos like we had in Mass Effect 3. That was the pinnacle of like power combos for me. I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I'd like to see a little bit of a mixture between the freedom of movement and cover system in Andromeda, but a more set class system like in the original trilogy, just because I feel that it makes the game a lot more strategic, and also it does very much feed into replay value for that game too. So I definitely want to see that. In terms of dialogue conversation options as well, I would actually like them to keep the dialogue options that they had kind of like in Andromeda, where you got sort of emotional, professional, casual responses. But I actually don't want them to give us a hint of what the response will be. I'd rather they just sort of say, you know, respond in this way or this way or this way, choose this style, but we don't actually know how the characters are going to respond. I feel that that would be really fun. I definitely want to see Paragon and Renegade come back. I want to see more Paragon and Renegade interrupts, because I really enjoyed those in the original trilogy, and they did do them in Andromeda, but they weren't as cool. So I would like to see a lot more of those. So those are just some of the wishes on my list for the next Mass Effect. There are many, many more that I have, but these are just the key ones. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on the next Mass Effect. Please do share those, and I'm looking forward to reading them. All right, well, take care everyone, and happy gaming.
Big thank you there to N7K for the list. You've got some absolutely fantastic points too, and some different ones as well, which I really like. There's been a whole mix of different opinions on this video. And she had a really good point about the Paragon and Renegade interrupts. They're a really good addition to the series. I'm not so sure about the time scale, 10 to 20 years after the end of Mass Effect 3. I'm not sure if that would be enough time to completely rebuild the relay network. But you never know, it might be a good opportunity to have a look at that interim period before things kind of return a bit to normal. But like N7Kate said, now we'd like to know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with the guests? Do you disagree with the guests? Let us know in the comments.